Hi everyone, this is the Intuitive Paint in the Week for July 16th to the 23rd. Our intention this week was protection, and here's the image that came about. I'm going to share a quick time lapse so you can see how the painting was created, and at the end you'll see the oracle card, and then I'll go through and analyze all the images, talk about the messages that came through. And here's a quick look at our starter deck. So those in the Collectors Club, your first month you get the starter deck, and then this painting along with the other three for this month will become new cards for your deck and get sent out on August 1st. And then this painting I'll do the drawing next week, I believe, or the beginning of the week after, for the intuitive paintings that go home to someone, the original ones that go home to a co-creator or a collector this month. So without further ado, here is the intuitive painting of the week for July 16th. Have a wonderful week. Bye-bye. Alright, let's take a look at this week's painting. I love the way this feels. There's so much hope and light and love. So we started out, the intention was protection. And when I put the colors down, I put a few in the middle, and then I felt like I wanted to kind of create a boundary. So there might be a little bit of a message here about boundaries and letting light into them, but also this deep dark, it kind of feels very protective too. So there's a little bit of that. And then it just, my first instinct, and I put that out, and a lot of people said they saw kind of like looking up through the darkness to the light, kind of like looking up through the trees, and that's kind of what it ended up showing here, which is just it just feels like there's so much hope and love. And it's so interesting too, because I thought protection, I don't think if I started out saying I'm going to paint an image about protection, that I would have even thought of any of this. And I love the perspective of it. And what's neat is the little robin showed up, the little egg in the nest and everything. And the robin's a great symbol of a fresh perspective. It's a spring bird bringing in the return of the sun and hope. One of the big messages of the robin is that it's safe to enjoy the spring, that it's only going to get brighter. And so I thought that was a really interesting thing in relationship to protection. So what does that mean? If we're protected, if we're safe, it's safe to enjoy things, it's safe. And then the idea of the robin with overlooking the egg, but also this light or higher self or higher mind or God force and source energy, the divine, Gaia, like however you see this, looking over this mother looking over its egg, its child. So that's kind of where all the ideas came from. But to go back to the beginning, so it kind of just turned into this, if you watch the time lapse, you can see that it became almost a finished landscape or a finished view in itself, of looking up through trees, kind of. And then the nest was really apparent. I didn't see this yet in the clouds. but the nest came first. So it was like creating this foundation and safe space that we can do for ourselves, right? And then the branches kind of branched out, gave it some support. And these to me look like apple blossoms, kind of like these spring budding, but they didn't occur, like I didn't even have the idea for them until the light came through. So it was when I saw the face emerge, because I don't know if you can see that. It's really very subtle. There's a face right in there, looking down and smiling, just in adoration. So it's really about this adoring view, like a mother, like an attentive mother would look upon their child, just with so much love. And I almost felt like it was saying, like, I would never let anything happen to you. Like, I just adore you. That's what it felt like. And when that light started to shine out, that's when the tree blossomed. And so it's like letting that light in, recognizing the divine light that's shining down on us allows, like, kind of our foliage allows us to blossom, allows it to fill in and make it even more protective in a sense that not only is the egg kept safe in the nest and being watched over, but there's also sustenance on the way. All the needs are provided. That was another thing I kind of wanted to put into the card. The card stayed very simple. It's just a few lines. You are safe, and that there's the divine light shines upon you. You're seen, and you're looked upon with adoration is really the idea. But there's also this element of being provided for, which is part of protection, right? Very simple but profound image and messages this week. So I wanted to take a minute to just kind of look at it in quadrants. So if we drew a line in the middle, above this line would be what we're already aware of, and below the line is what's coming into our awareness. So this week, we may be very well aware, and right in the center too, so we drew a line this way, left and right. It's very, very balanced, slightly to the spiritual side on here, and then more of the structure on the practical side. But a very balanced, we might be very well aware of our higher power this week. We might be really starting to feel the involvement of the divine in our lives. And what's coming into our awareness, what we might start to recognize this week, is just more on this practical foundation. If you think of a nest, it's like a home. So some of us may be really thinking about creating our home structure, creating safe places for ourselves where we feel really grounded and rooted, which they're up in a tree, but it's like bringing that groundedness and creating a nest is something that's created by a bird. It's not something that just occurs. The tree doesn't make it, the bird does, but it's part of the tree. So what are we creating? How are we housing our soul or our creations? What are we doing to protect them? What can we do in the physical world? Because everything else is provided by our higher self and our universe. So that's something that's coming up into awareness. I love that the robin's kind of got her head turned toward the light, but also looking almost directly at us, as if to, like a knowing, an acknowledgement. So that's something too. Feels like some of us really might begin to feel our connection to nature, and I think that we just started to touch on that a little bit last week with last week's card, is this deepening connection to our place in the rest of creation. And it feels like that's what's coming up with having wildlife come up into these images. Just an acknowledgement by creation. So pay attention to the birds and flies and all the creatures that start to visit you during your day, and giving you some insights into what's going on. They're messengers, and they're bringing some of this light into your life. And it's very much on the right side with the practical home matters. It feels like, yeah, definitely some insights into your career, possibly home life, physical body, those kinds of things. Your day-to-day, you might be feeling compelled to create a more sustainable routine in your day, those kinds of things. Yeah, what else? So I wanted to talk a little bit about the apple blossoms too. They're such an interesting symbol, the flower. They often symbolize like love and a long life, but specifically in relating to a long life is the continuation of life, even after a death or like the winter of life or grief. If you've been going through a loss or something like that, this symbol right here, actually the whole thing, but the apple blossoms themselves, it's all about this like springtime renewal and the continuation that life goes on even after we experience a loss or a death of self, is what I keep hearing, like releasing some ego death, like releasing old identities so that we can allow new identities to come in and bring in that fresh perspective. So yeah, and it's only going to get brighter, so you're safe to enjoy it. Enjoy the beautiful light that's coming. You're protected, you're safe, you don't have to wait for the other shoe to fall or anything like that. I really want to emphasize that it is safe to enjoy the good feelings that are coming your way, that you're experiencing and that come in this week. All right. Well, have a wonderful week ahead, and I will talk to you again soon. Bye-bye.